أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. الحمد لله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Jamaat Muslimin, today's khutbah is about arrogance. And the reason why I have chosen specifically this khutbah is because lately I have found that something very prevalent amongst us. When one has wealth, you usually look down upon those who has less than you. But besides the ordinary arrogance where you speak about wealth or maybe race, arrogance in the sense where ulama, where learned people think that they are better than those maybe who are less qualified. One alim would think because he is a graduate of Al-Azhar or he is a graduate or a scholar of some Darul Ulum that he is better than another person. To the extent that I've heard that some of them even speak to their learners, their students, telling them that alim and that imam and that maulana and that mufti, he is not a learned person. And this is typical of arrogance. The very first recorded sin that we have in our history, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, listen closely, was the sin of Iblis. And what was that sin of Iblis? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explicitly mentions in the Quran, أَبَا وَاسْتَكْبَرْ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ, that Iblis, he was arrogant and he refused, and because of this, he became of the ungrateful. So in today's khutbah, I want to remind us of the dangers of arrogance and the importance of humility. Arrogance is one of the cardinal sins in our deen. And in fact, Ibn Taymiyyah mentions, he says that the sin of arrogance is typically more despised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than even the sin of shirk. Arrogance or kibr is worse according to him than shirk or paganism. So we would ask why? How is it more despised and worse than shirk? And he explains, he says, at least the mushrik, the pagan, at least the mushrik occasionally worships Allah. But the arrogant person never worships Allah. He never worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what we see in the character of Iblis, where Iblis refuses to acknowledge the truth. And it's because of this that the commandments that have come, that the Quranic verses that have come censuring arrogance are some of the most strictest in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala links the fire of Jahannam with those who are arrogant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين يستكبرون عن عبادته سيدخلون جهنم داخلين. Allah mentions those who was too arrogant to worship. Those are the people that shall enter Jahannam humiliated. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran also, ادخلوا أبواب جهنم خالدين فيها فلبئس مثوى المتكبرين. Allah says, enter the doors, go in by the doors, go in by the gates of Jahannam to dwell therein forever. And what an evil abode for a person who is full of kibr. And for what reason? Because لِلْمُتَكَبِّرِينَ. He is of those who are arrogant. Those who are arrogant in this world, our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, should I not inform you of every person who will go into Jahannam? Do you want me to tell you who is the Jahannami? And Nabi said, it is one who is mutakabbir, who is mustakbir, the arrogant one, the Ja'bari, the obnoxious one, the egotistical one. He is the one who will go into Jahannam. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he described the Jahannami, the one going into Jahannam, as the one who is arrogant, obnoxious, and the one who thinks himself better than the other people. And that is the one that is going to Jahannam. No human being has the right, my dear brothers, to feel arrogant. No human being has the right to feel superior to another created object. And this is why the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made an qasam, had made an oath, has sworn that no one with an atom's weight of arrogance in his heart shall ever enter Jannah. No one who has kibr in their hearts shall ever enter Jannah. Jannah is haram for the one who feels himself superior, for the one who thinks that he is better than the other, the one who is walking around with a speck of arrogance in his heart. And that is why it is so crucial, my dear brothers and sisters, that we should examine our hearts, or always looking at ourselves. Am I being arrogant? Am I having the sense of kibr? And if so, my dear brothers and sisters, we need to eliminate, and our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam illustrated for us, and he clarified for us what the essence of arrogance is. Once a man came to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I like to wear clothes, good clothes, beautiful clothes. Is this arrogance? Is it haram for me to look beautiful, to look good and dignified? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, that is not arrogance. Arrogance is not to live a comfortable life and to enjoy the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is not arrogance. What is arrogance? And he explicitly said that arrogance is to look down at other people and to reject the truth when it comes to you. And he defined arrogance in two categories. One of them is the spiritual arrogance. One of them is the arrogance of the deen, and the other is the arrogance of the dunya. And as for the arrogance of the deen, for the arrogance of the religion, it is to refuse to accept the truth. You have a position, something which you stand for, and you think it is right, and then it is proven that you are wrong, and just because you said it, and the other person has proven wrong to you, you refuse to accept. And of course, Iblis, he is the king, the sheikh, the maulana of arrogance. He is the head of arrogance. Iblis is the one who began it. He started it. He knew that Nabi Adam alayhi salam was worthy of sajda. And he knew that he should have obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he refused to accept the truth to the very, very end. And that is the quintessential arrogance of Iblis. Knowing the truth, recognizing the truth, but still rejecting it. And that is the worst of the two categories. Us as Muslims, the definition of Islam is humility, not to be arrogant. The definition of Islam is to accept the truth wherever it comes from. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-hikmatu dalik al-mu'minin." Wisdom and nuggets of truth. This is something that anywhere you find it, the believer picks it up. He picks from it. Doesn't matter where it comes from. It means wherever you find it, maybe even from your enemy, with your friend, with an unknown authority, somebody benefits you with knowledge, somebody teaches you something, you will take it and you will thank Allah, for it doesn't matter who it comes from. So arrogance, the first category, to reject the truth when it is presented to you. And if you find yourself holding a position and you refuse to ever budge from that position, deep down inside, you know that you're wrong. But you refuse to budge. Realize you are following literally the footstep of Iblis. So let us all be careful. And then fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second category of arrogance is nas. To look down at other people, to think you are better than them for any reason. And as I said at the beginning of the khutbah, that I specifically chosen this khutbah because it has become prevalent amongst ulama that they think that they are better than the other alim. Students and scholars think that because they are at a certain institution, just because of that, they are better than those who do not go or attend that institution. And as I said, they even tell the students that we are better than them. And that alim doesn't know anything. And that is the reason why I'm having this khutbah about arrogance. So, if you think you are better than anyone because you have more wealth, or for any reason you think that you are better than them, maybe of color, of your skin, then you're nothing but a racist. If you think you're better than them just because you have more wealth than them, you have more privilege than them, then you are somebody who is obnoxious, thinking that just because you have a better bank account, you are better than somebody else. And if you think you are better than them because of religion, of your deen, of your knowledge of deen, then you don't have deen. Then you don't have religion. Because if you had religion, if you had deen in the first place, you wouldn't have that element of kibr. And never look at other people and say, I am better than them. Now, this does not mean, my dear brothers, that you approve of the other people's lifestyle. If somebody has a sin and you don't have that sin, you say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Alhamdulillah. You thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you don't have that sin. But never ever think yourself better than the person who has that sin. And you may think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is the only one to judge. And that is not to think, he said, that you are better. But the person you do not know, never forget, my dear brothers. The hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling us there were two people. One of them was a drunkard, and the other person used to frequent the masajid. All the time he used to go to masjid. A worshipper of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. True worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially in our eyes, when they frequent the masjid. And every time the person, the mosque goer, would pass the drunkard, he would tell him, fear Allah. Fear Allah and go pray. Go to the masjid, go pray. And the drunkard would ignore him. But one day, that very same drunkard got angry at this man. And he said to him, who do you think you are to tell me to always go to the masjid? Mind your own business. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed you as my boss. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you as my muraqib. Somebody who is taking care of me. Now obviously, my dear brothers and sisters, this drunkard or this guy, he was rude. And it was very wrong for him to say that. But what was the response of the so-called muttaqi, the worshipper, the masajid or the masjid goer? What was the response of that masjid goer? When he heard that, he became so angry and he felt he is better than that drunkard. And he said to him, Wallahi, Allah will never ever forgive you. Wallahi, Allah will never forgive you. Now my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the first person was a drunkard. He was a sinner. He is a sinful man. And he said something that was very rude. He shouldn't have done that. The second person, he became the judge and the jury as well as the executioner. The second person took on the status of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah azza wa jalla. And he said, you're never going to be forgiven. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and this is in the hadith, that man, Allah said to that man, and who are you to speak in my name? Who are you to say who can be forgiven or not? Who are you to say who is going to Jannah and who is going to Jahannam? And just because of that single statement of that musalli, that worshipper, that frequent masjid goer, because of that one statement, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hadith says, all of your good deeds have gone to waste, and I have forgiven that drunkard, that man. The man was a sinner, but deep down inside, he knew he was a sinner. He wasn't arrogant against Allah. He knew he was a sinner, and he knew that he's going to do something wrong. And he became irritated with the other human being. And that is the sin. But there's no arrogance in him. But for the one who's going to the masjid all the time, the one who thought himself better, he suffered from the sin of arrogance. And he said, I'm going to Jannah. You are going to Jahannam. And that attitude was the biggest sin in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than a lifetime of the drunkard's evil. So we understand what it means to be arrogant. To think that you are better than somebody, and again, don't mix it, my dear brothers and sisters. Don't mix the two things. You may thank Allah for having elements of piety in you. Yes, you thank Allah. You are going to the masjid. Yes, you see somebody who is a drunkard, or maybe an addict. Say, Alhamdulillah. I'm not doing that sin. Okay, but do not ever think that you as an individual have a higher status in the eyes of the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, my dear brothers, because you do not know the fate of that person, and you do not know your own fate. And that is why the importance of humility is something that the Quran constantly reminds us of. Because the only antidote for arrogance is humility. Humility is what we are instructed to do. It is what all the Nabis, the Anbiya, the Prophets, the people of Jannah in the end, we find in Surah Al-Furqan. There are 15, Allah mentions 15 characteristics of the people, the Ibad al-Rahman. 50 characteristics that Allah mentions of the people of Jannah. And Allah says, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنَ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. Here Allah mentions, and as I said, there's 15 of these characteristics. But the number one characteristic is humility. Tahajjud in that list comes number 6. Number 1 is the verse, in the verse, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنَ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. It is the number 1. The number 1 is, Allah says, that the servants of Allah are those who are walking around in front of others. They are walking with humility, and they don't have arrogance wherever they are. And their hearts are humble. They don't have a speck of arrogance in their hearts. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises the Sahaba by saying, أَذِلَّةِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. They are humble with the believers. And Allah praises also the Sahaba saying, أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُم. That they are strict with those who oppose Allah and His Messenger, and they are merciful and tender with those believers. Their mercy, their humility, their humbleness is in front of all to see. And in fact, the Arabic word humility is also very profound. The Arabic word for humility is tawadu. And it comes from its root, wada. It literally means to put something down. You put it down on the ground, you lower your ego, and that is the meaning of the word humility. It means you're constantly working on your ego. You lower it down to the ground. And that is the very definition of humility. You're always putting your ego down in your own head, and you're not considering yourself to be arrogant. And our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us, the one going to Jahannam is the one who is arrogant. And he said, should I tell you of the one whom Jahannam has been made haram, for whom Jahannam has been made haram? And he said, Kullu hayyin layyin. That person, he is anyone who is humble and easygoing. Jahannam is haram for him. Everyone who is humble and who is easygoing to get along with everyone, they have no ego. And they don't have a pride issue that the person of Jahannam has been made haram, as it said, for that person. And of course, this is a complementary. If Jahannam is meant for the mutakabbirin, for those who are arrogant, then definitely for the one who is humble and has humility, Jannah is for him. Jahannam is haram for everybody who has humility. Everybody who doesn't have arrogance, and that person will never enter Jannah. And in fact, to look at the stories of humility in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Allah says, وَحْفِظْ جَنَاحَكَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. O Prophet, lower your wings. Ya Rasulullah, lower your wings unto the believers. And this is a metaphor. to lower your wings to the believers, it means don't even be arrogant amongst them. And that is why when the people used to visit Medina and they would go to Masjid Nabawi, they couldn't see the difference or know who is Abu Bakr and who is Umar, because they were all humble people. And we know from the Quran as well that Nabi Musa alayhi salam in Surah Al-Kahf, when he said to the people, I am the most knowledgeable amongst you, and Allah Azza wa Jal, he sent Jibreel down to chastise Musa alayhi salam. And Jibreel said to Nabi Musa, oh Musa, how could you say something that you have no right to say? Verily, there is a servant Allah has given knowledge you do not have. And we also have in the story also of Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given so many ni'mas, and he thought that he has everything and he is the best. When Allah sent a sparrow to him to tell him that I come from a far place which you have no knowledge of, which means also, my dear brothers, never ever think, never ever be arrogant and think that you are better than others. In fact, in one hadith it is mentioned the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was giving a khutbah, and he told the Sahabas, a very beautiful hadith, where he mentions that if you lower yourself and then you are humble and for the sake of Allah, and he used his hands to show, both hands to show, and he said, he used his left hand, he said, if you lower yourself for Allah, and use his left hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will lift you up. Allah will honor you and use his right hand. And that you can see, my dear brothers. It is so amazing. If you truly have humility, you eliminate kibr from your heart. You think yourself worthy of nothing. What will happen? Allah will write the love of people, and the people will respect you because you didn't do it for them. You did it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the one who wants people's respect, and the one who is pompous, full of pride, and who spends money so that he thinks the people will respect him, and the one who acts like an obnoxious person, does anybody, my dear brothers, and this is a question you can answer for yourself, does anybody actually respect that type of people? Obviously the answer is no. Even the people that surround these people, they do not respect them. They do not respect them. And they only respect them because of the worldly perks that they get from him. And as soon as that money disappears, and as soon as the power disappears, those friends disappears. Because that is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to do things for people, you won't get praise as you want. And you will be losing this world and in the akhirah. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us humility, to never let us be of those who are arrogant, like to follow in the footsteps of Iblis. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that all our ibadah will be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that we will be of those who enter Jannah. Wallahu a'lam bissawab. Jamaat Muslimin, I see that we have become so lenient now lately that we do not keep social distance. Some of us don't come with the sujada, with the prayer mat. Some of us also don't come with masks. Please adhere to that. We are still in that phase, and just because sometimes if someone could come around, we'll be in trouble. So that time you will be gone, and we have to bear the consequences. Well, there's also just one request for du'as. Maulana Nadeem, his family is in isolation, he himself is in isolation. Dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them shifa kamil, and also all the others, and the marhum, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them شفاء and رحمة إن شاء الله. والله أعلم.
وسلموا تسليما.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. وفي الصحيح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه قال: قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إذا قلت لصاحبك يوم الجمعة أنصت والإمام يخطب فقد لغى، ومن لغى فلا جمعة له. استمعوا وأنصتوا رحمكم الله.
الحمد لله. الحمد لله الذي فضل سيدنا ومولانا محمدا على العالمين جميعا، وأقامه يوم القيامة للمؤمنين المتلوثين الخطائين الشافعين الشفيعين. فصلى الله تعالى وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى كل من هو محبوب ومرضي لديه، صلاة تبقى وتدوم بدوام ملك الحي القيوم. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، فيا أيها المؤمنون، رحمنا ورحمكم الله تعالى، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل في السر والإعلان، فإن التقوى سلام ذرى الإيمان. واذكروا الله عند كل سجن وحجر، واعلموا أن الله بما تعملون بصير، وأن الله ليس بغافل عما تعملون. واقتفوا آثار سنن سيد المرسلين صلوات الله تعالى وسلامه عليه وعليهم أجمعين، فإن السنن هي الأنوار. وزينوا قلوبكم بحب هذا النبي الكريم عليه وعلى آله أفضل الصلوات والتسليم، فإن الحب هي الإيمان كله. ألا لا إيمان لمن لا محبة له. ألا لا إيمان لمن لا محبة له. ألا لا إيمان لمن لا محبة له. رزقنا الله تعالى وإياكم حب حبيبه هذا النبي الكريم عليه وعلى آله أكرم الصلوات والتسليم، كما يحبه ربنا ويرضاه. واستعملنا وإياكم بسنته، وحيانا وإياكم على محبته، وتوفانا وإياكم على ملته، وأدخلنا وإياكم في جنته بمنه وكرمه، ورأفته إنه هو الرؤوف الرحيم. عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة. وقال تعالى: إن الذين يستكبرون عن عبادتي سيدخلون جهنم داخرين. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم، ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. إنه تعالى جواد قديم ملك بر رؤوف رحيم.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وصحبه وبارك وسلم ورضي الله تبارك وتعالى عن كل الصحابة أجمعين.
الحمد لله الذي هدانا للإسلام ووفقنا لاتباع هدي الرسول عليه أفضل الصلوات والسلام. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، فيا أيها الناس اتقوا الله تعالى وحافظوا على أوامر الله، وأطيعوا الله والرسول لعلكم ترحمون. وسونوا ألسنتكم عن اللغو والشتم وجميع الآثام. إن وقعتم في ذنوب فبادروا إلى التوبة منها، وإن مالت نفوسكم عن المعاصي فاصرفوا عنها. وانظروا البغي والحد والحسد. وعليكم بالصدق والنصيحة لإخوانكم المسلمين، وأحسنوا إن الله يحب المحسنين. وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى، ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان. واعلموا أن أحسن الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة. وعليكم بالجماعة، فإن يد الله مع الجماعة، ومن شد في النار. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي، يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك نبينا محمد. وارض اللهم عن الأربعة الخلفاء المهديين الذين قضوا بالحق وبه كانوا يعدلون: أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي، وعن بقية الصحابة والقرابة والتابعين 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 بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وعنا معهم بعفوك وجودك يا رب العالمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، وذل الشرك والمشركين، ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين يا رب العالمين. اللهم آمنا في أوطاننا، واصلح أئمتنا وولاة أمورنا، واجعل ولايتنا في من خافك واتقاك واتبع رضاك يا رب العالمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى، وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي، يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وأوفوا بعهد الله إذا عاهدتم، ولا تنقضوا الأيمان بعد توكيدها، وقد جعلتم الله عليكم كفيلا. إن الله يعلم ما تفعلون. فاذكروا الله تعالى يذكركم، واشكروا على نعمه يزدكم، واسألوا من فضله يؤتكم. ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى وعز وجل وتم وأعظم وأكبر. والله يعلم. وأقيموا الصلاة.